We've reached the top of the hour, it's 5 o'clock, and we continue the day-long session of masterclasses. I trust you've enjoyed your time with us the whole day today. Over 8 hours of masterclasses presented by BWASA, the Businesswomen Association of South Africa. My name is Vuyisa Kabaka, and I've been moderating the session this afternoon. I'm from Hyber Group, and we are wonderful and excited to be partnering with BWASA to deliver these sessions. We're back live again. So thanks to everybody who's stayed along for the duration of the day. We've had over 2,000 of you join in on these sessions at different parts of the day today. So incredibly excited to have hosted you this afternoon. And those of you, again, who have been slightly disappointed with some of the technical challenges, we've also learned a great deal about hosting these sessions throughout the day today. We continue the sessions as we move forward. You can now tune in to the sessions on our website, womensmonth.co.za, where the session is streaming live for you. If you want to join Sanise and join and be part of this webinar, please find the webinar details on the right-hand side of your screen. And again, you're welcome to join in and participate and connect with the facilitator and engage and ask questions. So the platform is there for you to join in if you're tuning in. We've had some challenges with our YouTube channel, but certainly rest assured that these recordings will find their way to YouTube and you can connect with them and follow the sessions as we've delivered them. If you're following us on social media, it's hashtag BWAWomens Month. And again, without much further ado, I want to introduce everybody to Sanise Lojode, who comes from Blue Flamingo Digital, which is again a social media and digital media specialist company based out of Joburg, but working across Africa. Welcome, Sanise. Thanks for joining us. And Sanise will be talking this afternoon or this evening on digital marketing for leads. So this is you're welcome to join me now, and you can share your screen at the moment. Sanise, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Let me just do that. Can you hear me fine?
We can hear you perfectly. Awesome.
Okay, wonderful. It's always nice to know that you're not speaking into the great unknown. So great. Vui, let me know when you're ready for me to just jump in. My screen seems to be working fine.
This is your show. Go ahead.
I love that. All right.
So you're genius.
Thanks. That's a hard act to follow. I mean, you've set the bar really high. I've actually been following some of the other speakers. It's such an amazing platform. I want to say welcome to everybody. And I hope for the next 1.5 hours, I will do you justice. I ask that you take part for those who are able to be in the live webinar, because I'm just going to be asking for your participation. And I definitely ask that if you need to stop me for any reason or you want to jump in, I'm all ears to your moderation and your support on this. So let's jump right in without further ado. I usually like to state that for me, what is advertised must be what is delivered, because I'm in advertising. And I think people who are good at communication sometimes fall shy of actually delivering on the goods. So I want to start by looking at what we promised today, which is to deliver a session that talks about how we can use digital marketing for leads. And the premise of my discussion was high quality leads are the lifeblood of any thriving business. So whether your business is big or small, if you want to keep growing and evolving, new business needs to keep coming in. So in this masterclass today, I want to share, actually what I've done is I've given you a bonus. I wanted to share 6 tactics, but I've actually given you a bonus of another 3 or 4 tactics. So we'll get up to about 9 tactics that can help you generate and convert more qualified leads. All right, so this is what was important for me to just cover in terms of what we're going to be doing today. So getting straight into the masterclass itself, I'm just going to make my screen a little bit bigger so you can see exactly what's happening here. 1, I want to say thank you for your time. 2, I've kind of delved into why we're here. And 3, it's important for you to know who you're speaking to. So Blue Flamingo Digital Africa is 11 years old. It's a digital marketing and advertising company that has our branches, our headquarters in South Africa, and our branches in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Uganda, and in Rwanda. So we've been around for a bit of time and we've learned a few things. And most of the things that we've learned have been through trial and error. And you're going to see this in my masterclass today because I'm going to encourage you to step into the space, even if you don't feel confident. And I'll share why fear stops a lot of people from actually bringing in leads through digital marketing into their agencies. We understand that digital is a very technical space, but there's actually there's really no shortcut to just getting in there and trying. So you're going to hear this a lot in the coming hour and a half, which is the idea of trial and error. Because the truth is, nobody is an expert on your company more than you are. And this also applies in the digital space. And I'll show you how your learning and your understanding of your organization can actually lead to you getting really good results from digital marketing, given that you put certain parameters and certain considerations in place. Okay, so that's who we are. We are a digital marketing advertising agency. You can check us out. It's Blue Flamingo Digital, blueflamingo.digital. That's the URL. Just so you know and trust the credentials of who is talking to you today. Okay, so I'm just going to jump into why you can't ignore the power of online advertising. And I'm just going to sort of minimize my screen a bit because I really like making sure that everybody's along for the ride. And that includes just making sure that, you know, I'm checking in with you guys every once in a while. So you're going to sort of bear with me a little bit. Vui, I want to ask a quick question. Are we able to see if people able to like drop comments in the chat, or is this just me straight to camera?
Well, I'm following all the questions as they come. So we've had questions from the Q&A in previous sessions, but I think go ahead and we'll monitor the questions as they come.
Okay, brilliant. So thanks so much. That's amazing, Vui. So if you can just, if you're on the Zoom edition of this, because I know we're streaming on different platforms like Facebook and the website. If you've ever tried digital advertising, just please drop a comment and say, yes, I've tried it before, or no, I haven't. And Vui, if you do get any comments, please stop me and say, this is what people are saying, just so I can understand, you know, just through the room, what we're looking at in terms of who's tried to use advertising before or not, and you know what level of engagement you've had with online ads. So I'll leave that to
so far we've got Vicky saying yes, I've tried. We've got Claire saying no, I haven't. We've got Day saying yes, I've tried before. So yeah, the comments are starting to come in.
Amazing. Keep those coming in. I'll leave you with one other small assignment, which is to please share with me whether you felt they were really successful or whether your experience was kind of like, yeah, not really great, just in the middle there, or whether you were just had an amazing experience and you got some really good results. I'll come back to that in just a bit. So I'm going to dive in and tell you why you can't ignore the power of online advertising. And if COVID-19 and this pandemic has taught us anything, is that it truly is a powerful medium that can really capture people's attention, right? But then the thing is that there's a lot of mistakes to be made. And I want to offer this caveat just to help us relax and lean into this concept a little bit. We as Blue Flamingo Digital Africa, we as digital marketers are no smarter than you. We just do this all the time. It's what we do with our lives. So we also tend to make a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to start by just highlighting some of the blocks to advertising greatness, just very, very quickly. And the first one is that you're advertising, but you're not marketing. Now, this is very common. You throw a piece of content there and you've got to ask yourself, if I was in the shoes of my target audience, or if I was in the shoes of my customer, why would this matter? You've got to answer the so what. And a lot of us just put our ads there and we think that the people we're talking to are different from us. You've got to appeal to what people are concerned about, what is occupying them. You've got to speak their language, but you've also got to deeply understand your customer. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So one of the biggest blocks to us achieving this advertising greatness and getting in all these leads and building our pipeline is that we're advertising, we're not marketing. The second is you don't know your return on investment. I love saying that what gets measured gets improved or gets done. Some people say what gets measured gets managed. Everybody's got a different ending to that saying. But the truth is, whatever you measure is what you truly value. So if you're measuring how many likes you're getting on Facebook, then what are you valuing? Vanity metrics, likes, followers. If you're measuring how many people are buying my product as a result of that content I'm putting out there, then you're measuring actual return on investment. So you have to know your ROI. I have to wake you up in the middle of the night and go like, hey, how much are you spending on social media? Okay, great. And how much are you getting out of it? You should know those numbers off your fingertips. If you don't, you're never going to get anywhere. And it just starts with a journey. Just start today. Go back and ask yourself if you're, and by the way, I don't mean that for you to go back and say, no, I'm not spending anything on social media, so it doesn't matter. Are you spending time? It's not always just money. If you're spending time, you need to know the return on investment on that time. Too many of my clients don't have any idea what their return on investment is. And you have to have this sort of eagle eye on that number. Number three, you're not watching your competition. Now, some of us are watching the competition too much in that we have inertia and we're not doing anything. But a lot of us are not also looking at what the competition is doing. And there's so many tools out there that I can tell you today. I can tell you how much your competition is spending. I can tell you where they're spending it. And I can even tell you down to the details. And while I'm on that, just write this down if you're following. It's SpyFu, SPYFU. SpyFu is a tool that actually lets you find out how much your competition is spending. Now, you might be a starter, it might be a startup in that industry. You should know what the big guns are spending, right? It just gives you perspective. Number four is you lack innovation. You think that big companies with $1 million budgets have this industry on lock and they're the only ones who can actually generate leads. That's not true. You are just as innovative. And I'm going to give you a small example here. We had a client, well, we still have this client, but we were doing some work for them around plumbing. This is a company that does plumbing. And what we did is we linked their PPC. PPC stands for pay-per-click, which is a form of advertising. And we linked their PPC AdWords and keywords to an application that charts the weather. What this meant is that when the weather was bad, it's winter, it's cold, what tends to happen? Your pipes, they clog up, they freeze, and you have more plumbing issues. So we tied the PPC ad to an app such that when the weather was bad, their advertising spend increased, meaning they bought more AdWords and they were in people's faces more on Google search. And this was just a simple innovation, but you'll be amazed at the results that we got, because it meant that when the weather was okay and the likelihood of having plumbing issues was low, we didn't spend that much money. But however, when the likelihood of their customers complaining and reaching out for a plumber was high, we opened the tap and the adverts increased. And the ads were not, like I said, we weren't advertising, we were marketing. We spoke to their issues, like, are you having challenges? It's cold right now. Are your pipes freezing? Call this number. But that wasn't about budget. It was about innovation. Number five is you don't have the right team and you truly aren't investing in the right team. I can't tell you how many times I hear, oh, I have a cousin straight out of school who knows social media. Oh my goodness. He doesn't know what he's doing. He hasn't been through the tests and the trials, and you're shortchanging yourself. This blocks you from really bringing in those leads. The other one is that you're micromanaging. I won't go into that in detail. You're not auditing yourself is very similar to not knowing your ROI. Your strategy is wrong. That could happen. Many times you need to actually get someone who knows what they're talking about. Call around and see who's done this before and get your strategy right. But your strategy starts with listening to your customers, with understanding what your customers are looking for and being able to give it to them. And this is not just in terms of advertising, it's also in terms of content. It's also in terms of the service that you're offering. 9 is that you're scared. I see this a lot. I've had situations where people say, I don't want to be on digital because, once you open that can of worms, there's no going back. If I make a mistake, it's going to be all over Twitter. Customers are going to complain. you know what? Customers are going to complain anyway. At least this way, you're online to be able to combat those complaints or answer those complaints. So being scared, not a strategy. And the 10th is some companies have a lot of bureaucracy. So many people have to sign off on something, meaning you're not nimble, you're not, flat, you can't respond to things. So I just thought I'd put some context to some of the reasons why we don't get good results from our digital marketing and indeed our lead generation efforts, right? But now let's get to the fun stuff, which is, um, how do we then make sure that we are getting good lead generation campaigns? What are some of those tips and tricks? And some of these are going to be pretty basic. You may have heard of these before, but I think what I've tried to do here is give you a mix of entry level stuff and then some medium stuff and then some pretty technical stuff. That way, if you're on this webinar and you're perhaps not new to digital marketing and you've done it before, you're not completely bored by the fact that we're talking basics. But at the same time, we don't want to lose some of you who are very busy on your business, and rightfully so. And this is not your everyday core, everyday, sort of day-to-day stuff that you do. So you may not have as much information as someone who spends time in digital marketing would. So let's start with some of the boxes we tick when we're executing a good lead generation campaign. On the left,
before you get in, can I just, before you move too far, there was a comment about what you asked in terms of results.
Yes, amazing.
And the comment was a mixed bag of results, some amazing results, some not so great, depending on the platform. For example, Facebook, not good for leads. LinkedIn, great for leads. Webinars have been the best for results, and Google search has been average.
Wow, amazing. I love, love, love that response because it dovetails so beautifully with what I'm about to share with you, which is, Vui, can I know who that comment came from? It was a great comment. Vui?
This comment came from Vicky.
Vicky, okay, Vicky, amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. 2 thumbs up for that. And Vicky, I just like to personalize things, so don't mind me putting you on blast like that, Vicky. But I think why I love that comment is because you mentioned something about platforms. And this brings me back to the idea of knowing your customer. You have to know where your customer spends the most time. This is why you're going to have a mixed bag of responses. If most of my customers, if I run a B2B business and I'm looking for business people, and this is the thing, I also want to make a quick clarification here. A lot of us say B2B, B2C. You have to be aware that B2B, much as I'm not going to shoot it down, I'm going to say it's evolved a little bit to B2P. Now, B2P stands for business to personality or business to person. Because at the end of the day, we say B2B and it's like we're doing business with a company. No, you're not. You're doing business with that procurement officer whose job it is to make sure his company gets the best quality at the best price, right? So the evolution of B2P is also important here. So when you think of yourself as a B2B or a B2C company, you have to think to yourself, where does my customer go? Are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Pinterest? Now, a lot of times people tell me, but how do I know where my customer is? Now, this seems like a difficult question. It's not. Ask them. All of us have customers, otherwise we wouldn't be in business. Go to your top 2 or 3 customers, call them, email them, take them for coffee, I don't care, and ask them, what do you do when you're online? Or how did you find us? Or where did you go to find information on using us for your business? There's no substitute to listening to your customer. And a lot of us don't listen to our customers. Why? We kid ourselves that we don't have enough time. We don't think it's important. We imagine we know the answer. Or we just don't want to do the work of like, now I have to call my customers and do this. I'm too busy running the business. But this is the insanity of it all. You're running a business, you want to bring in more clients, but you don't want to know how your clients find you. It's crazy, isn't it? So at the end of the day, you really have to be able to hone in on where your customer is. And the only way you can do that is by asking your current customers what their user journey is. There's no substitute for that. So I hope that helps. So diving back into the class. So on the screen right now, you're going to see on, I think it's your left or my right. Anyway, there's a picture right there, a beautiful picture, nice veggies and stuff like that, but it looks like a busy marketplace, right? Now imagine the busiest marketplace you can. People squeezing their way one end to the other. Then there's these guys shouting, buy two for the price of one. You know, got great offer here, weekend offer, all of that. Then put yourself right in the middle there trying to sell your product. This is what it means to be online. There's so much noise, so much clutter, so much to choose from that you cannot afford to be generic. The internet is no different. Everybody's got a website. Everyone wants attention. Everyone wants to generate leads. So you've got to ask yourself, what makes me stand out? So let's first clarify what a lead generation campaign is, because this is, after all, a masterclass. So we have to have some form of mastery when we leave here, people. So what is this lead generation campaign we're talking about? So a lead gen campaign is anything that generates leads. Now, I won't get into the technicalities of it, but a lead is someone who's interested in your business. That's the broad definition of it, right? When I get down to digital, it means that you've convinced someone somewhere to give you their personal information. Usually that's like an email address or a phone number. And in exchange, you give them something valuable in return. And this is where we fall short, right? We think to ourselves, let me just go out there, get a whole bunch of leads and give nothing in return. Lead magnets, which I'll talk about later, are what you give in return. So you've gone to a website before, right? And it's a website that says, oh, free template on how to do something. And you're like, yeah, I need that for this proposal I'm working on. You go to click download and it says, oh, enter your email address, your details, etc. They know that this template you want is useful to you. It's helpful. But in exchange for them helping you, you give them your information. Now, this is what I call generating a lead. Now, when you generate a lead, you've got to qualify that lead, meaning you've got to say, it's just a name and a number. They might turn into business, they might not. So don't get excited when you get 2,000 leads. Your conversion rate, which is the rate at which these people become customers, might be less than 1%. Out of all those 2,000 names you've gotten, only 2 people might sign up for your business. So it's important to generate the right kind of leads so that you can move them from market qualified, which is sort of general leads, they're warm, they know you, to sales qualified leads. A sales qualified lead is a lead that will actually give you money out of their pocket. And that's what we all want, right? So let's go to point 1, which is what are these, Shanice talked about these 6 or 9 tips that will help us generate better leads. The first one is establish your objectives. Again, this might seem common sense, but I cannot tell you the number of people who don't spend any time really thinking about their objectives. They rush right into, let me spend $100 on Facebook so that I can get people to know about my cleaning service and therefore give me some money. Okay, fantastic. But what is the real objective here, right? You have to know that you cannot measure a goal and adjust your campaign accordingly if you don't know the objective. So is the objective awareness? I just want people to know I exist for whatever reason. Branding. I've already got all the business that I want, but I just want to make sure people think my brand is cool. My brand is all that, so that I can retain the business that I have. I want to position myself. And then of course you might have an objective to actually bring in more business. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You have an objective to bring in more business. What number are you looking for? You have to interrogate yourself and say, okay, I'm looking to make 5,000 Rand every single month from social media. If you do not set that objective, you're never going to hit it. You will never push yourself to find this objective, to see how you can make 5,000 Rand worth of business from your social media. Once you set that intention and say, this is my objective, okay, I'm going to put 10,000 Rand, right? Yeah, sure, the numbers don't add up right now, but it will in future. Or I'm going to put 3,000 Rand and see if I can spend 3,000 Rand on social media and get 5,000 Rand in return. Whatever it is, even if it seems silly, even if it seems arbitrary, set that objective, make it clear, make sure everybody who's working on your campaign, and I mean everybody, whether it's your agency, whether it's your cousin who just graduated, who knows social media, I don't care. Whoever is touching your campaign should know what the objective is. If the objective is awareness, how many impressions do you want a month? I want to make sure 10,000 people see my ad. Set that objective, make it tangible, give it a number. So very, very important that you do that. Number two, and this is my all-time favorite. I've already talked to it, so you probably see that I have a love relationship with this part, but research your audience. Who are you targeting? Are they on that platform that you're looking at, right? Search engine optimization, which I'll talk about a little later, which is making sure that you're found on a search engine results page. Let me simplify that. On Google, is not just about optimizing your site to rank number one. It's not just about when people search for your product. Let's say people are searching for, I don't know, pets, and you have a pet company. It's not just about you coming out number one. It's making sure that you're showing up for the right kinds of inquiries, right? And search engines, and in this case, Google being the one we all know, or the most, widely used, they're forever getting smarter. So when you optimize, you have to think about what your audience wants, but you also have to think about the technical things that they're consistently optimizing for, the right kind of content, you being helpful, and so on and so forth. So never, ever, ever start a lead generation campaign without a super clear picture of who your audience is. Break it down in terms of their fears, what they're worried about, what they want. Sorry, that's my son, Harry. I'm giving a masterclass. Do you want to give me a few minutes? Okay. What they're concerned about. So you've got to really research the audience and make sure that the audience that you are targeting and the platforms that you are using match up. But it's also important that I spend a little time explaining that when you research your audience, they will actually tell you the kind of content they want. For example, if I'm looking for, I don't know, if I'm looking for, let's say, a home schooling tutor, right? There's certain things that are going to be of concern to me, which is their credentials, how long they've been doing this for, whether they're good with children, do they have any interests outside of homeschooling that might be interesting to me? Now, these are what you're going to write your content about. You're going to write a blog talking about how your tutors are well trained, they have an interest in this, but you cannot find this content out if you do not do your research. And part of lead generation is having the right kind of content that brings these leads to you. So researching audiences, mucho important. Number three, planning your content. So let me spend a little time here in case you're wondering, what the heck has lead generation got to do with content? Well, people have to know about you somehow. And everything you put out is content. You put out an ad, that is content. You put out a video talking about your product, that is content. And it's a critical step in lead generation because it aligns that objective you established with the audience that you're targeting. So let's rewind a little bit and talk about objective. We talked about objective, right? So objective was what? Awareness. Then what kind of content are you going to put out there when it comes to awareness? Or your objective was, I want to make 5,000 Rand every single month from social media. Okay, fantastic. What kind of content are you planning to put on social media that is good enough for someone to give you 5,000 Rand or 1,000 Rand or whatever it is to hit your target? You've seriously got to answer that so what question. So if you know your service is great, you're running a skincare line, you have the most amazing lotions for women and you want to sell them, or you're in fashion, right? And you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to put out this content that's going to convince someone to buy. Why? I'll tell you an ad I clicked recently and why I clicked it. Winter is harsh on us women, well, with our skin. And this ad just simply said, 5 tips to ensure your skin remains moist this winter. And I'm like, yo, it's like you're speaking to me, because that's a problem that I'm having. This person obviously wants to make money off the internet, but they've planned their content, 5 tips to help you with dry skin. It aligns with the objective, sell, sell, sell online. And the audience where they'd put this information was directly targeting me because I happened to be on that platform at that time. So it answered my question. That builds this trifecta where I go, the information is so good, I am sold. I'm like, these guys know what they're talking about. And the product is priced in my price range, right? It's not too expensive, it's not too cheap. I think I'll try it out. I click and they deliver. Fantastic. So they've thought about how their content matches up with their objective, and they've established where their audience is going to be when they're looking for this information. So when you're planning your content, there's something called a content calendar, and I'm going to show you how we do that. That communicates all the appropriate messaging, whether it's to your blog, because I found that information through that blog, right? When I clicked through to get that information, I was taken to a blog where I read the information at the bottom. There was a place to buy, which was all hosted on the website. So the truth is that when we are planning for leads and when we're doing our search engine optimization, content is queen. We don't use king around here, right? It's Women's Day. So content is queen. So really important to plan your content. All right. I hope we're all together at this point, and we're all still awake. I usually have a lot more interaction. I ask questions and stuff like that. But in this case, I'm just going to keep plowing on and hope I'm carrying you along for the ride. So number 4 of our 9 steps is create an offer. I'm just going to go quickly back for us to just do a quick refresher. So I started with our objectives. We're good there. I talked about our audience. We need to know who we're talking to. Then we've got to plan our content to align with our objectives and our audience, which I've mentioned. Now we've got to create the offer. This is part of your content, true. But early on, I talked about that lead magnet. What are you giving me in exchange for your product? When I looked at the skincare company, they didn't just say, hey, our lotion is amazing, click here and buy. No. They said, hey, we know that you're probably thinking about your skin in winter and wondering what to do about it. Here's some free information that will help you. And they talked about like exfoliating and making sure I'm doing my masks once a week. All great information, but I didn't pay for that necessarily over and above my internet, right? Which I'm using anyway. So they gave me that lead magnet. They gave me something, an offer that I then reclaimed, and it helped them bring their USP into the spotlight, their unique selling proposition, which is our lotion, our moisturizer, our skincare, our skin cream will give you that moist skin that you're looking for. But we're not going to sell you. Remember, I talked about the fact that we advertise, we don't market. So they didn't advertise, they marketed to me. So very often we find competition associates sales and low price with value, when really people buy more into an idea. They didn't have to say, we have the lowest priced skincare product for you. No, they had to show me their value. And they did that through that great blog that highlighted that they knew what they were talking about. They were experts in this area. So content writing is good for communicating that idea, right? And SEO is good for using that idea to then target the right audience. So you've got to spend some time thinking about the offer that you are creating. Is it compelling? Does it make sense? Would you buy it? I always think the perfect test of any offer you create is, would you buy it? If the answer is no, go back to the drawing board, because the people you're targeting are no different from you. They have very much similar needs. They want to be appreciated. They want to feel like they have choice. They want to feel like they're making that choice. So if you wouldn't click your ad, please don't assume that we would. That's just mean. So as an example, this is an offer that we give at Blue Flamingo. So this is how we do our lead generation. What do we offer? We offer you a free consultation, because we know a lot of people are, especially in COVID time, they want to know how to get started on digital. They want to figure out how to step up their digital transformation and communication efforts, but they're just not sure. So we offer you a free digital consult. It lasts 15 to 30 minutes. You've got some friendly faces on your website. Click, and whichever country you're interested in, we'll give you that consult. So if you wouldn't click on it, please don't assume we would. Then we come to number 5, in terms of how to really make sure you're generating leads for yourself. You've got to promote your content. So I asked specifically the question that, are any of us using digital marketing? Are we advertising? Because sometimes there's this idea, and in the good old days, this probably worked when Facebook was still that naive, fresh-faced teenager, where they were giving us so much organic growth. You'd post something and all your friends would see it and comment. Facebook has grown up. Facebook is now an angry, middle-aged person. And they're not giving away anything for free anymore. So everything now is pay to play. So if you don't promote your content or your offer, it's not going to get seen. Organic reach is basically dead. And by organic reach, I mean that you're not putting $5, $10, $15 behind your offer and promoting it on the right platform. So again, SEO, which is search engine optimization, I talk a lot about search engine optimization because it's really linked to good lead generation, because you're optimizing your website, you're optimizing your advertising, you're optimizing your communications for the search engine. Whatever the search engine is, YouTube is a search engine. Any platform that people enter details in and search for stuff is a search engine. Twitter is a search engine. If I go into Twitter and I search for, I don't know, interesting hashtags, I am using it as a search engine. So it works best when you connect it with other channels linked to your site, right? So make sure that you're looking at digital marketing and advertising holistically. If you choose to be on a platform, choose to give it your best, choose to really invest in it. Not every platform will work for your business, so be careful which ones you choose to go on. We're not on Pinterest. We're not really a visual platform. We're not really selling anything like that. We're heavy on LinkedIn because we know that's where our procurement and management teams are, and Facebook as well, and Twitter and Instagram. So choose the right platforms and make sure that you link these to your website. That when, and this is a trick I'm going to teach you, is that don't use Facebook to just promote stuff from other people's website. You should be writing original content that only you can generate and then using your social media channels to promote your website. So link it all up, because the content that's going to be generated, especially if your campaign is still new, is what you're going to need to run promotional campaigns. Once you've garnered respect of your peers, of the industry, in terms of giving helpful information, you've garnered that attention, you've garnered the permission to now use that audience to run promotional campaigns, right? So at this point, when you're promoting your content on offer, don't also forget things like your email newsletter, tying those in, Google ads, etc. So try and think of your marketing, and I'll show you how to do this when we get to sort of the practical side of today, which is me showing you, let me just check how we're doing on time. Okay, when we get to the practical side of things, I'll break it down for you and actually show you some of the tools that we use and how to do it in a way that brings together all your platforms in one nice place, and you can actually check how you're promoting your content or your offer. So that's number 5. This is just a simple example to show you how we promote some of our content and offers. We do a lot of our own graphics. Obviously, it's easier for us. We're an agency, so we kind of have teams to do this. But you can do this through using tools like Canva, C-A-N-V-A, a fantastic tool where you don't have to have an MBA in graphic design. You can really create some pretty nice images pretty simply. And there's a whole bunch of other tools out there where you can actually create artwork, and that artwork can then help inform your offer or whatever it is, right? So really important to do that. Okay, let's look at number 6, which is optimizing your lead capture mechanisms. Now I'm going to try and tone down on some of the jargon here so we get to the crux of the matter. Your lead capture mechanisms, what are those? Now, no matter how great your campaign is, it's always going to need refining. Lead capture mechanisms are simply things you use to capture leads. What do I mean by that? It could be an emailer you send out. It could be a form that it has been attached to your website. It could be a sign-up sheet, right? You need to, don't imagine that these things can be static and that they're just going to work forever. The secret behind any successful lead generation campaign is that every 3 to 4 weeks, you are asking yourself the question, is this still working? Should I use a different set of creatives? That's the ads and stuff like that. Should I use a different lead magnet? Maybe people don't want to know about winter and lotions. Maybe people are more interested about how to look good in front of a Zoom meeting and what kind of makeup to use for that. Okay, so you've got to keep optimizing, because no matter how great your campaign is, it will need refining, because your competition is never going to give up. So what was great today may be average tomorrow. So work it into your rhythm, into your company meetings, into your marketing meetings, that every month you're going to have a standing meeting where you look at what's working and you ask yourself the hard questions, and you ask yourself, are we optimizing? Can we do this better? What am I learning from the data that will help me do a better or make a better campaign? So when you look at the data that's coming out, you have to ask yourself, oh, we wrote this blog about this topic and it did so well. Is there a similar kind of blog that we can write? Or why didn't this do well? So testing and optimizing is critical to running a really good lead generation campaign. Okay, so now assuming your campaign continues for a reasonable amount of time, you're optimizing it along the way. How do we do this? You have to look at key metrics that then reflect how efficient each component is. And when I say test the components of your lead campaign, this is what I mean. Um, in digital advertising, there's something we love called A/B testing. A/B testing simply means I've got artwork A or offer A, and I'm going to run a for like $5 or $10. I'm going to run that campaign, but I'm also going to run a campaign on artwork B. And that's all it is. A/B testing is not fancy. It's not complicated. It's just I've got two different sets of offers. I'm going to run both of them, and then I'm going to see which one performs better. And that better performance is going to inform the fact that I can then use that as the winning campaign. I can use that artwork and I can learn what my audience is responding to the most. So remember, you're going to show this ad to the same audience, right? Two different sets of ads. You're going to show it to the same audience, and then the audience is going to decide for you which one is better. So that's a very, very important thing. Always test the components of your lead campaign. And the components could be different. It could be the artwork. It could be the copy, right? The actual text. So you could have the same text and just change the image and see which image responds better. You could have the same image and just change the copy. You could say, I'm not going to run email marketing for a while and see how that affects my bottom line. Or I'm going to only do email marketing and see how that affects the bottom line. So don't be afraid to test different components and different parts of your lead campaign. Okay, number 8, lead scoring. So lead scoring is really, really, really important because all the steps I've talked about, and I'm just going to give you a quick refresher. We started with objectives. We then said, let's make sure we know our audience. Then let's plan our content so that it aligns with the objective and the audience. Then let's create a really good offer where our USP can get the spotlight, and be honest with ourselves. If we wouldn't click on that offer, we shouldn't be putting it out there. Then let's make sure we have some media buy. We're promoting that content or that offer because organic reach is dead. Then we're optimizing our lead capture mechanisms. We're changing what doesn't work. We're swapping stuff out. And we're testing different components of our lead campaign. So we're running A/B tests. We're splitting them up and seeing which one does better. None of this makes any sense if we're not measuring it. So internally as an agency, we use Google Tags, Google Tag Manager. We use analytics. We use Search Console. And for those who are perhaps not new to digital marketing, these are all making sense to you. If you're new to digital marketing, then this is just looking like jargon right now. But it's really just tools that we use to make sure that we are scoring our leads. Now, what I mean when I say scoring our leads is, Vicky at the beginning of the call said, you know what, I've run digital media campaigns or ads before, and I've got a mixed bag, depending on the platform. LinkedIn does really well, Facebook not so much, and Google search abysmal. Now, this is interesting because when we started the agency, we were a social media agency first. We had no idea what PPC was, etc. We quickly learned. And we kind of went through the motions. So Blue Flamingo is a WSI certified agency, which means WSI stands for We Simplify the Internet. And it's an international company that's in over 120 countries in the world. And they certify agencies. And they do a lot of training for agencies. And when we started, this was about 8 years ago, when we really started getting into the more technical aspects of digital and being trained on how to do all these things, because it is a skill, right? We started understanding that if you really want to do well online, the best thing to do is to measure and to understand what's working and what's not. And we to be honest with you, never really understood that aspect of digital media. And we were really creative and we put out all these amazing campaigns, but we weren't really curious as to what platform is working, and this idea that not every platform is going to work for every business. Like if you're selling clothes and you're in the fashion industry, or you're doing you're a makeup artist, like Instagram is amazing for you because it's a very visual platform. If you're trying to sell a book, right, you've written an amazing book, you want to sell it, you might want to try Twitter or LinkedIn, where there's a more sort of thinking audience. And I don't mean that in a derogative way. I just mean like, it's just a platform where people go there to really engage with that kind of content. It's not such a visual platform compared to Instagram, right? And then if you're looking for like, you know, um, you know, your recruitment company, people are looking for jobs, people are looking for how to align themselves with like important content out there that's going to help them improve their careers, then you're looking at LinkedIn. So instinctively, we all know these things, right? But we don't measure them enough so we can score our leads. And this is what I mean by scoring your leads. If you're getting leads from Facebook, and you're getting some leads from Twitter, and you're getting some leads from Google search, right? You need to be able to say the leads that I get from Google search, even if it might be a more expensive platform, are really good leads. They convert 10% more than the leads I get from Facebook or the leads I get from Instagram. So you've got to be able to weight the leads that you get based on where they're coming from, because this is how you will refine and improve your lead generation. So, right, I mentioned we use things like Tag Manager, right? Tag Manager helps us know where our leads come from. Analytics, Google Analytics will tell you on your website attribution. When you open your Google Analytics, you'll be able to see, oh, wow, of the 2,000 visitors that are coming to my website, half of them are being referred by Facebook. But I'm putting out content on Facebook, on social media, on email. So maybe I'm wasting my effort on Twitter or email, because if half of them are coming through Facebook, I should just concentrate on Facebook. But remember, we talked about lead scoring. The ones that are coming through Facebook might be many, but are they quality over quantity? So lead scoring helps you decide that. But with data, not with thoughts or feelings. In the digital world, we do not respect thoughts, feelings, and emotions. The only thing we respond to is data. What is the data saying? How do we interpret that data? How do we then use it to make our campaigns better? So really, really important that you use the right tools, right? And this is where you might want to invest in an agency or somebody who can support you, who's had a lot of experience using these tools, because it can be very time consuming to start learning how to use Tag Manager and Search Console and all these other tools that help you measure traffic coming in and interacting with your website. And I've got to pause here for a second and say that something I perhaps have neglected to mention, because I've again taken it for granted, is that we all know that our website is the #1 tool when it comes to generating leads. It doesn't mean you can't generate leads on just Facebook alone, like in the comments section or Instagram where people tag you, or in the DMs. You can do all of that. But I can assure you that if you use your website properly, that is the best lead generation tool, because it's yours. It's your owned media, right? If Instagram decides to, I don't know, shut down today, all your DMs go with Instagram, right? So you need to de-risk in that area and say to yourself, I'm going to focus a lot more on just building my website, capturing traffic through my website, capturing leads through my website, and making sure that my social media, my email, all those efforts are actually all bringing traffic into my website. Really crucial. I just thought I'd throw that in there. So basically, whenever you have tools that are insufficient in capturing the data, we use what we call our UTM tags. UTM tags are really, really important, because UTM tags, and these are really fascinating, because you can tag whatever content you're putting out there, right? And be able to follow that content right up until when it gets to your website, and attribute the fact that you are getting leads from Facebook, from Twitter, etc. And you can actually divide each of these platforms and know which one is working for you. This is so, so important. I cannot, overstate the importance of that. So the thing that makes UTM tags important is that some platforms register as unknown. Or sometimes on your analytics dashboard, which is your Google Analytics, you will see information that says you are getting visitors to your website from an unknown source. Now that is a digital marketer's like worst nightmare, to not be able to attribute. So if you know you're running a campaign on WhatsApp, for example, the link that you share on WhatsApp should have a UTM on it. So you can tell every time someone clicks on that link and they visit your website analytics will tell you this person visited your site from WhatsApp. And you can see clearly that, oh my gosh, it's my WhatsApp efforts that are paying off over and above my Facebook. That way you know where to invest more over time. So really, really critical. Awesome. Last but certainly not least, at least I think oh, okay, I've got one more. So number 9 is nurturing your leads. So in a perfect world, people would respond to us immediately when we put out a campaign and we'd have tons of leads flying in. But COVID, it's not a perfect world. So we need a little more than just one article, one image, or one ad for someone to buy into our business. This is where nurturing becomes really important. This is why blog posts are important. Now, believe me, I know when you're running a small to medium business, blogging is just not something you have the time, luxury, or energy to do. But I think it's so crucial. And people always say to me, but I have nothing to write about. This is where you're wrong. Every day of your life, you have something to write about. How difficult it is to run your business. What it's like to be a woman in your field if you're the only woman engineer or the only woman running a tour and travel company somewhere amongst a field of men. Or just what you come across in your day-to-day work, the kind of people you work with, the kind of problems you're solving, right? In my business, we solve some fascinating problems. We come across people who don't even know their audience. We help them define their audience, and suddenly these light bulbs go off. So we all have a lot of content that we're sitting on. We just don't think it's content. And this is where I have to say that if you can get into the habit of writing with your own voice, of telling your own story, not looking at what other companies are doing and saying, okay, it seems like most people in the makeup industry write about makeup tips. I'll do that. No, do what is uniquely you. Even if you have an audience of 20 or 30, it's better than having 2 million people who don't respond to you. But you have to find your niche. And how you nurture your leads is by writing blog posts that are helpful. I mean, blog posts are just one of many methods, right? But blog posts are really effective method to nurture leads because you're putting information out there, you're putting helpful content. And the idea is that at some point, someone will remember, yeah, I really like the content that Blue Flamingo puts out. Maybe I'm now in a position or I've moved to another company where I can give them a call and say, hey, I've followed you guys, you give me helpful information, and my company is looking to pitch or is looking for a digital agency to help them. Can you guys help me? Now, obviously, this is long tail. This person may have been following you for 3 years, but the point is you've been consistent with your content and you're nurturing that lead. Another great way to nurture leads that we do in Blue Flamingo when we do our sales calls is we'll place a sales call, we'll talk with the person, have a really nice conversation, and the person will say, you know what, I'm not ready to buy from you right now. And we'll say, you know what, that's perfectly great. And this is the principle about our business. One, we only take your business if we can help you. We will not take your business if we don't think we can help you. We're not just about grabbing your money and going. And this is really, really important to us because if we take your business and we can't help you, or we're not sure we can help you, we're going to create a really bad relationship there. We're going to kill any chance at referrals. And what's the point of that? We're also going to stress ourselves out in the process just to get a bit of money, right? So really important for us that we take business that we know we can help. Number two is that, we take only the business that we know we can help. Number two is that we then tell the person, look, we know you're not ready to buy right now. However, can we put you into our email marketing list? Because opt-in is very crucial. There's nothing worse than you getting an unsolicited mass chain email you never signed up for. It is annoying. And also it's dangerous because if you get a lot of people unsubscribing and saying that your email is spam, the provider will block you. So never ever buy an email list and just start spamming people. It's the worst kind of marketing you can do. I digress though. Coming back to this idea of nurturing leads. So we asked them, is it okay if we put you into our email marketing database list, and we will send you an email once a month. We will not spam you. And in that email, we're going to give you helpful tips on how you can continue to monitor the digital space in Africa, because our niche is Africa. We're not trying to compete with the West or whatever. This is where we live. We love this continent. We want to progress this continent. So the other USP about our content is that it is specific to the continent, right? It's stuff that we've done and tried. So we tell them, would you like to receive that from us? And they go, once a month, maybe not too bad. If it's going to be helpful, I don't want to go scouring the internet looking for digital marketing tips. It comes straight to my inbox. Okay, sign me up. That permission means I now have permission to consistently be in your face. When you're ready to buy, you will buy. So nurturing is a really, really important part of lead generation. Okay, last, certainly not least, sealing the deal. The bottom line on lead gen is that there is no bottom line on lead gen. Once you've converted that lead into a customer, it starts all over again. From identifying the objective, to the audience, to the content, to promoting it, to optimizing it, to measuring it, to nurturing those leads that are coming through your pipeline. That process starts all over again. Now, the thing is, and I talked about fear earlier on, when you jump into this process and you start it, the beauty of it is that the more you do it, the more comfortable you start to become with what the process is. The better your content gets, the more you're comfortable sealing the deal. If you're good at measuring and getting the data to inform how you market, your information gets better and better and better. But you have to start. You have to just jump in with both feet and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. So that brings us to kind of the end of the theory of this. I'm not going to get into paid media and all of that because that's also quite heavy. And I think I want to leave you remembering these 10 tips that I've shared with you on how to structure some really good lead generation campaigns and some really great lead generation strategies. I want to now spend the next 20 minutes or so, because I know I've got about, okay, maybe half an hour. And I want to spend the next 20 minutes or so just going through some practical stuff, because a lot of times you'll come out of a masterclass and then you're kind of re-energized and you're motivated, but it's like, how do I even start? Where do I even start? So in a moment of true vulnerability, I'm actually going to share with you kind of how we do it at Blue Flamingo, because I can't really show you experiments on my clients. That would kind of be unethical, but I think I'm allowed to show you how we do it at Blue Flamingo. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm looking at here. Let's say 150%. Okay. So what you're looking at right now here, we use Google Docs a lot in Blue Flamingo, so we can work collaboratively, etc. And I've taken out a lot of stuff from this, but this is what we call a content planner. So this is how we plan our content. And earlier on, I talked about why content is important to lead generation. So I'm not going to go down that path, right? But the thing about when you're generating leads is, one, you've got to create themes. You've got to sit down and plan your product. You've got to think about, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to sell? And I'm not going to kid you, this part is difficult. It takes a lot of effort, and it truly takes, it takes a lot of doing in terms of really just trying to be succinct about what you're doing. And for me, this is where an agency can really help you flesh that out if you feel like you're not a great marketer or communicator. And you can bring them in for a short-term contract, just to help you build a strategy, right? You don't have to engage them on like an ongoing retainer or whatever. But I always find it's like building a house. If you've got a really great foundation, you're gonna do well. If your foundation is shaky, it doesn't matter what you put on top of that house, it's gonna collapse, right? So the way we do it is we look at the year, we say quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. We plan our topics like an inverted pyramid, which means we have a major piece of content, and then we break that content down into pieces. So we have a blog headline, and I'll just take January. So let's say you are an accountant, You want to sell your services online. What kind of information can you give out there that's helpful that people will gravitate to, and then they'll probably want to inquire about your services? Something like how to plan in January. Okay, so you're going to say, okay, so my blog headline will be how to plan in January. I'm targeting B2B. My goal is engagement. I'm on Facebook. I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. On Twitter, I'm going to do this. On Instagram, I'm going to do that. On email, I'm going to do this. On LinkedIn and on YouTube. Now, again, you might not want to use all these platforms. You might say that, I've done my homework and most of my audience are on LinkedIn. So I'm going to cancel Facebook, Twitter, Insta, etc. Less work for you. Yay, well done. Email, I think, should always be part of your strategy, simply because it's such a captive way of delivering your information. So when you now segment your content in these buckets, you're now able to say to yourself, okay, fantastic. I'm organized. I've got my blog headline, and now I'm going to break it down in terms of what I'm actually going to talk about. Okay. So when you get into what you're going to talk about, then what you'll realize happens is that you now start to ask yourself, okay, if I want leads from Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, how am I going to get those leads, right? This is when you start delving into the details of, okay, we're looking at Twitter and the content that's going out. Is it working? This enables you to track at the end of the day. Okay, so you could either plan your content in terms of this quarter, I'm going to focus on a particular product. I'm going to focus on a particular area. So if I'm an accountant, I could focus on planning in quarter one. In quarter two, I could focus on budgeting. In quarter three, I could focus on taxes, right? But it helps you be consistent, because under taxes, there's so many things you could talk about. But it just helps you understand your audience. Sorry, I'm just gonna switch on my light right now because it's obviously getting a bit dark. And I'm hoping you can all still see me. So as you okay, perfect. I wasn't too sure there. So as you continue to plan your content, you're able to actually break it down, and it takes a burden off of you in terms of what you're going to talk about and which aspects of your business or your product you're going to sell. So this really helps to break that down, right? Once you've done this and you filled it in and you know your goals that we talked about, you can now see everything sort of coming together, right? This then helps you to say, okay, I'm going to run a couple of ads on Facebook. You've also got to choose your medium, or I'm going to run a couple of ads on Google search, right? And then you start putting those ads together, but where are those ads going? So this is where it becomes really, really important to have what we call a landing page, right? Or a place where you're going to hold your leads. So I'm just going to give you an example of our website. So when you go to our website, there's this little button called free consultation. And the free consultation button is what we call, in this case, our landing page. Because every time we promote this page on our social media or on WhatsApp or on any of our platforms like email or even on Google search, right? When you search digital marketing and we come up and say, hey, looking for digital marketing, why not click here for a free consult? Because the way we're tracking our leads is how many people are clicking through for a free consult. So when you land on our page and you click, I don't know, I want a free consult with Pam in Uganda, you're able to then sign up for that consult, because we have a tool that we've plugged in that allows you to actually schedule a meeting with us. You can choose a day in her diary, and it'll show you when she's free because it links up with her diary. So you can see, okay, these are the times she's free. This time works for me. You'll pick a time, you'll confirm, and then you can enter your details, your email. Remember I talked about that the lead generation is getting those details, right? So here's where we're now capturing or harvesting that information. But remember, because I'm doing this on my website, at the end of the month, it's going to show me how many people are actually using this page and how many people have clicked through. So I'll enter my email, etc. I can add guests if I want, and I can even tell her, look, I want to consult because I'm running this business and I just want to know how to do ABC. Once I schedule the event, that is considered a conversion. So I have converted somebody, and that is now considered a lead. But that's not the end of it. Remember, we're still going to score this lead in terms of how did they come to us and what platform is working. Maybe I came here from a LinkedIn post. So the LinkedIn post brought me here. I'm like, okay, fantastic. This is great content. I'm going to look at this content and I think I'm going to buy into it, right? So again, just in an effort for me to be very, very, I suppose, practical with you, where you can see all this happening in real time. So you're going to create what we call these leads through your social media platforms. So that link will go up here. And then once a person has clicked on that link, right, it'll likely take them to this page. And then you're now capturing that information. But remember everything we talked about audience, everything we talked about making sure that you've planned it right, the content is right, the platforms are right, is what's going to help give you that success. But once so-and-so enters their details and schedules an event with me, and I'm now going in for this event, I have to remember that they may not buy from me, because the point is to convert our customers and make money, right? So I need to then decide whether this lead converted 100% into a customer, because that then becomes my objective and it's tied into the results. Because there's no point in having a million consultations if none of them are converting. Or maybe there is if you're running like a charity, which is also great. But at the end of the day, if your end goal is how many people are actually signing up with you, remember we said what gets measured, right, gets improved or gets done, or what gets measured gets managed. So this concept of if you're measuring just the amount of people who click for a consult, that's a measurement, but is it the right one? But if I'm measuring how many people clicked through to a consult and turned into customers, that might go back to ROI in a much more specific manner that ties it all together. So this is where your content calendar comes in, because it helps you plan the content that goes here, assuming it's LinkedIn, that then takes you to this page, that then takes you to the consult. But then what we said is we shouldn't just stop at measuring the consult. We should measure whether the consult turned into a customer. So you're going to ask me, and I would be very proud of you if you did, but then this is just a content calendar. How do I measure all my other efforts? So in a more show of vulnerability, I will show you how we do it. So what you're looking at right now is how we then measure what comes through. So for purposes of this, I've just stripped out some of the content. So it just shows you 0, but you'll kind of get the gist of it. So you've got things like direct trafficking, email marketing, and I implore you to make sure that you are using a tool like this that helps you measure. If you're not sure where to get this tool, I am happy to share this with anyone who wants this information, and you can contact Vuyo or the team, and I'll definitely share this with you. But you want to categorize your efforts. So direct traffic would be people coming into your website directly, email marketing, organic search, paid search, referrals, social media, webinars. Vicky mentioned webinars were really successful in helping them convert customers who are not sure into actually paid customers, and offline sources. People just walk into your office, etc. So this attribution model, you can see that in January, I got a couple of customers from direct traffic. I got a couple of customers or none from email marketing, right? I got 2 from paid search. I got 2 from referrals, 2 from social media. If you're able to track these numbers, assign these numbers for someone in your company to track, no matter if they fail in the beginning, if it sucks in the beginning, just that action of you putting it together, finding someone in your organization and saying, I need you to help me figure out how we're going to track these numbers. That step is a step in the right direction, because I guarantee you that when you take that first step, you will be curious as to what's working. You will start to check through all the efforts that you're putting out there and start working backwards to see, but how do I actually get this data to fill into this sheet? How do I know how many people I'm getting through social media? And you'll start tracking those efforts, right? To take it a little further, you definitely want to have what we call your media buy strategy. And your media buy strategy is how much money are you going to spend on which platform? You're going to spend $500 on Twitter, 500 on Facebook, 1,000 on LinkedIn. And what is the, now this gets a bit technical. So I would advise you to outsource this part if you are not an expert in doing it within your business. But it's really key for you to also have that as part of what you track and what you measure. And then lastly, I think I will go into what we call your top, I mean, these are your top metrics, obviously. What I would call your sort of your more nuanced areas. So if you look at the tabulation of this, your marketing generated customers by source, you'll then be able to see, okay, I can tell that social media is working for me or it's not. Email marketing is, not really moving the needle. Or, oh, fantastic, look at that. Offline sources are where I get most of my customers. Because, and then I know some people don't want to hear this, digital marketing doesn't work for everybody. So it's really important to also understand where you fit in this equation in terms of, is my product meant for digital media, or should I focus on things like flyering and all of that? There's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on where your customer is, and you really, really need to understand that. So I will kind of wrap it up with looking at what we call top metrics, right? And top metrics are things like, and I just think I should zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little clearer. Okay, so when we talk about top metrics, you've got to look at things like your email marketing. How many subscribers do you have? And month on month, is that growing or going down? What's your open rate? These are numbers you should know. How many people are opening? So you send out an email newsletter, what percentage of your audience opens it? 41%, 13%? What's your click-through rate? So how many people are actually clicking through? So you've put a link in your email marketing to your website. Remember I talked about the fact that your marketing needs to be 360. It all needs to link back to your website. So in your email, you've put a link to your free consult where people can consult with you, but you need to see how many of these people are actually clicking through to be able to close that loop. So 1%, you've got 1,600 customers. 1% of them are clicking your links. How do you increase that number? How many leads are you generating um, from your emails? What's your unsubscribe rate, right? Then go into organic search. How many visitors come to your website? 3,000 visitors come to your website? Fantastic. How many click on links in your website? What's your click-through rate? What's your average position on Google? When people look for keywords that are related to your business, are you showing up on the first page, the third page of Google that nobody ever goes to, the second page, etc.? Then you look at your paid search. You've also got to have your numbers there. Whatever platform you are looking at on search, you should be able to go into each of those platforms and know what's your CPC. CPC is your cost per click. How much does it cost you? Then when it comes to SEO, which are the top 3 pages of your website that people visit and why? Your sessions. How many users do you have coming to your site? We talked about this thing about social, right? Where are people visiting your site from? Are they coming directly to your site, which is direct traffic? Are they coming in through social media? Are they being referred to your site from other platforms? And what's the average amount of time they spend on your site? Is it a minute? Is it 2 minutes? How many new users do you have every month? And how many page views are you garnering? So all this data is really important when it comes to tracking the efficacy of your lead generation. We talked about blogs being really, really important to you creating content that's going out there and the performance of your blogs. So put in the blogs that you are running and then share and understand from your Google Analytics how your blogs are performing. So you put out a new blog every month. How many people read your blog? Critical information for you to know. And if you can drill down further into this information, even better. If you can segment it in terms of demographics or where those visitors are coming from, in terms of country, in terms of age or interest, that will give you even more insights into the content that you're creating and how efficient it is. And then, of course, there's your social media. Are your followers growing in number? So you had 900 followers in, of course, all these numbers are hypothetical, but you had 900 followers in April, and in July, you're now up to 1,000 followers, right? Look at your Facebook. Is the engagement growing? So you were engaging 739 people in May, but now you're only engaging 200, or now you're engaging 1,500. What's changed? Is your content resonating? And of course, all these are indicators. So this, for me, is very important that we understand that a lot of these metrics are indicators. For me, the true value lies in how many leads are you getting and how many of those leads are you converting. So you should be able to tell me, you know what, my average conversion rate is 10%. I bring in about 1,000 people to my website every month, but of those 1,000 people, only 100 of them give me money, which means I'm only converting 10% of what I get. And then you should know for your industry, what's a good conversion rate? This is stuff you can Google, you can find it out online. Once you know what your industry conversion rate is, you know how you stack up to the rest of your competition. Again, this is still social media. So we're looking at Twitter, we're looking at Instagram. What are your followers like? What's the engagement? And this is a really important metric for me. What are the clicks to website? So if you're running a Twitter campaign, how many people are clicking to your website from your Twitter? How many people are clicking to your website from your Instagram, right? It's really, really interesting, but more importantly, it helps you see where you should put more effort. And then your YouTube, you know, how many subscribers do you have? Things like watch time, views, how many views are you getting? And what's your net reach? How many people are you reaching? Because there's no point in putting content out there if you're not sure how it's landing, or if it's just landing in the ether and you're not really getting any traction or any feedback and any data back into you that you can then use to improve on your consequent marketing. So it's really, really important to, for me, be able to tie all these aspects into, and it's always hard for me to do like in the 1.5 hours, something that's taken us like 10 years to learn. It's always very difficult to do that because there's so many other aspects that I may not have the time to share with you today. But if there's one thing you can take away from today, it's that tying things together is so critical. Data is number one when it comes to digital marketing. You absolutely have to spend time interrogating some of these things. Social media and digital media is not about, oh, let's just put it out there because everybody's putting it out there. Too many of us think this, and this is why we get, you know, really lousy results, because we just don't put enough effort into sitting down and sharpening that saw before we start to cut down the tree. It's really critical to spend time just honing in on the simple questions of, where is my audience? What kind of content appeals to them? And for me, that initial interview that you do with your existing customers to answer some of these questions is what will really, really push the needle in terms of you hitting the right audience, hitting the right sort of sweet spot and the right tone in terms of your content, making it relevant, and reducing the amount of media you have to spend promoting, because all of these things are interrelated. The more irrelevant your content is, the more money you're going to spend on Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, LinkedIn ads, because your content is just not relevant. So your cost per click just goes higher and higher because the algorithm and the way these platforms run is on relevance. So if your content is amazing, people like it, you're gonna, I can spend $3 and get 10 leads, and you will spend $3 and get 300 leads, simply because your content is so well placed, it's well done. So we also don't sometimes think about how the kind of content we build and the kind of time we spend on being relevant actually saves money in the long run. So all these things are really very interrelated. Vui, how am I doing with time, would you say?
You're still doing okay, but what I'd want to encourage the participants to do is start sending some comments, some questions, some Q&A. You're doing perfectly fine with time, so you still got a good 10 minutes on your hands.
Oh, lovely. That's amazing. Okay, good. So I think this would be a great time to just take a breather and say if there's any questions or comments. I am more than happy to take them at this point. I can still continue just talking through a few areas that I perhaps haven't had time to cover. I did have probably another 25 slides, but this is really paid media, so I don't want to start something I can't finish. But I think I'll give it 2 minutes to just wait for any questions that may come in that I'm happy to take. And in the meantime, I'll just spend.
So Nis, maybe can I suggest that you do kind of touch on the principles of paid media, because I think the difficulty is that most people don't know the true benefit, they don't know the true value. So if you touch on it, I'll monitor the questions as they come, and I'll bring them to your attention as they come through.
Amazing. Thanks, Vui. Great. So I'm going to touch, as Vui said, a bit on paid media. Now, if you've run a paid media campaign before, you know, you go into Facebook, you can target, you can say, this is the kind of audience I'm looking for, 21 to 23, 21 to 33, must love dogs. you know, and you can actually do a lot of interest targeting. What you might not know so well is what we call a DMP, or a data management platform. Now, a data management platform sort of aggregates different kinds of media for you. So think about it as a marketplace where you can go and you can bid on all sorts of websites and platforms, and you can put your ads on these platforms. So these DMPs gather certain information on location, on content use, on ISPs that people use, socioeconomic class, how much they consume data. You might say, I want to target people with a high data consumption, or I only want to target people who use iPhones. I don't want to target anyone who uses Android. There's many people who target like that. You could target people who have multi SIMs, you know, these phones that have more than one SIM card. You could do that. DMPs gather a whole bunch of information. So it's important for you to know that this is accessible to you, right? Then when you go into interest targeting, you can target from arts and entertainment. You can target verticals such as finance. You can go into banking, say, I want to target certain ATMs and branch locations. I want to target people with only savings accounts. You can target credit and lending. It's amazing the amount of stuff you can target just by looking at one subsection that is finance. So what I always say is, this is why it is important to understand your audience, because if you don't understand your audience, your targeting is going to be off. So you see how the two are now interrelated. So very key that you gather the right kind of data that will help you make the most of your time and your money. So I wanted to spend a bit of time talking about why targeting is king. The other thing is like profiles. And we talked about this when it comes to understanding your mom. Your mom, really? Sorry. When it comes to understanding your audience, it's because there's mom right there. So when it comes to understanding your audience, you need to know, who am I talking to? Am I talking to college students? Am I talking to an established person? Am I talking to a techie? So you need to decide this for yourself. And then when you are coming in to put this information in, it's not going to, be a waste of time in terms of looking in at the data. Collection is queen. Collection means, how do you collect your data? These are just samples of ads for collecting leads. So if I click on this ad, for example, this is a click to call ad. You've seen those ads where there's a phone number, you're using it on your mobile phone. If you click, you can call directly. Once you click on it, I, on my end, will be able to capture that, and we call that lead a click to call. So I'll tell you, 50 people, we run a campaign for one of our clients here who runs a hotel. And we actually monitor their bookings through how many people click to call through that platform that we've created for them, that helps them aggregate their leads in terms of calls. There's also click to SMS. We can say, SMS this number with buy now, and we'll get back to you with the details. That's a lead. You can click to USSD, you can click to chat. You may have seen that on our website, we actually have a WhatsApp chat at the bottom. And this, people do use this to click and say, I'm looking for digital marketing services, and send. So we capture that data, and that's our click to click to chat data that we then capture, and we're able to see how many people are clicking through from our website, but specifically via the chat function. And there's also click to map. Some people want to know how to get to you via a map. If you're running a restaurant, if you're running a spa or a gym, all these services that require someone to travel to you, you can actually capture click to map information as well. So really important to know how you're doing it. There's different kinds of leads that you can also submit on your website. So you've probably seen a lot of this where you've got a platform, so you've got a banner there, and you display this to your target audience with your messaging there. The campaign traffic is led to your website with the lead form. So when I click it, I go into your website, I put in my data, and then what I would say with this is, one thing you must always have is a conversion pixel installed on your website. So that pixel is a bit of code that you write into your website, right? It doesn't collect any data on the website. It only sends information to you about the successful conversion based on what you're running here. So it allows you to optimize those conversions. Really critical to do that. I've talked a little about click to call. So with click to call, this is very important. Sometimes, I mean, we've had this situation where we've talked to a client and said, how many leads do you want? And the client says, oh, I want 100 leads. And I'm like, okay, you want 100 leads a month. Do you have a call center that's going to take all these leads and call everybody back and say, thank you for getting in touch with us. Here's how you buy our service. Because this is the other problem. We have to be able to fulfill the need that comes through from these leads. So click to call is fantastic, but you need to be careful that you're directing that call either to a call center or to someone who has bandwidth to take the call and fulfill the customer. Because if it's your personal cell phone, you would not be happy if people were calling you every 5 minutes to buy a pair of shoes or whatever it is that you're advertising. Then we've talked about click to SMS. The tracking of the SMSs usually is done on the client end. Click to chat is really important, that you could chat with a chat bot or you could chat with support center. And then again, that's also done on your end. So there's so many different kinds of banners that you can do out there. So you can have a banner, and I don't know if you've seen these before, but you can run ads where the person fills in all their information on the ad without having any need to actually navigate out of that ad into a landing page. Really amazing. But this is where we are with technology. So because some people don't want to wait for your website to load and then fill in a form, they want to do it right on the ad itself. That's very doable. A little something extra. Bots are not just shiny tools. Bots can have up to 80% open rates and 25% of click-through rates. So you've probably seen these where you can actually chat with a bot and answer questions. So, hi, I want to find out about landscape design. Okay. Or I want to find out about how I can buy your product, whether it's honey or, I don't know, muffins. You sell muffins, let's say. And then you chat with this bot and he helps you get the right information, including how to schedule, where to go to order these muffins and stuff like that. So click to chat has a lot of potential there. But you just want to make sure that with machine learning, things can go awry. So you want to make sure that you've tested that experience with your friends and family before you actually launch it. Really important. And chatbots are also very good for user re-engagement. You can re-engage users. You can say something like, oh, hey, I noticed that you were considering buying this on our website, but you didn't actually buy it. I've sent you a little message on Facebook Messenger. Do you want to buy it now? Right? So you can re-engage an audience that you feel is falling out and is not actually buying. I apologize, I'm going through this quite quickly.
So Sanis,
yeah,
there is questions and they're quite interrelated. So I'm gonna say both questions at once, so I think they're quite interconnected. But at the same time, I think also to give you an opportunity to kind of use the opportunity to kind of close off on that kind of note. So let me just quickly read the question in terms of what the question is, and I think it's quite relevant based on what you've already shared. What lead form service would you recommend for your website? Tried a few, quite flexible on form and design style and location and location. So some recommendations around that. Okay. And any recommended marketing automation tools for small business?
Amazing. Yes, these are really, really good questions. And I'm glad they're coming in as I wind up, because I think you're nothing without your tools. My recommendations around tools is that it depends on industry. And that's probably not the answer you're looking for. I know that it's always, so I would always ask a follow-up, like, which industry are you in? So I can tell you which CRM, for example, would be great. I'll leave it at this. There's some great CRMs that are specific for certain industries. I've seen some amazing CRMs for people in tours and travel. I've seen amazing CRMs for like B2B facing businesses. So I'm going to say, please do your homework, ask around, ask people who are in a similar industry to yours, what CRM they're using with success. When it comes to lead capture forms, I'm going to say anything that links with your CRM is optimal. You've probably used things like MailChimp, which means that you can actually put the lead form on your website and all the leads you capture come directly into your CRM or your email marketing, and you can segment your database. That's really amazing. There's so many, too many to mention. There's HubSpot. There's all these platforms. But the secret to choosing the right platform is, what is your objective? What do you want it to do? And what industry are you in where it helps you really optimize that? Because I could give you
a factor, Sanis? Price considerations, should that be a factor?
Yes, that should always be a factor, especially if you're a small to medium business. Salesforce is an amazing, very robust someone asked about automation. I always say Salesforce is probably like the leader in automation, but the prices are crazy. So you probably don't want to go for something super robust when you're only going to use 2% of what it can do. So I would say MailChimp is fantastic for automating like your emails. You've got Perfects, which for me, I use open source. So what I do is I get my coders who are much smarter than I am. I say, here's an open source platform. I pay $150 a year, which is a fantastic price for me. And they're able to customize the open source platform to what we want. You can embed forms on your website. You can capture leads. They can come directly into your CRM. You can then follow up on those leads. You can put them into a sales management tool. So I'm going to say that just spend a little time in terms of industry and understanding which tools you want to use. But to give you a direct answer, I would say check out HubSpot, which is a great CRM. Do a little work around MailChimp. Do a little work around ConvertKit. ConvertKit is very interesting for small businesses. If you're going to do e-commerce, check out Shopify, because you can build your whole platform on Shopify and it's got your funneling and your market automation all in there. These are really, really great platforms that you can try.
So just before we wrap, and I see Akua is on the call as well. Welcome, Akua. So again, I just wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to do two things as we wrap. The first thing is, is there anything, Madam CEO, that we can expect that participants of this call can take advantage of to engage with Blue Flamingo? So give us a little something that we can come and claim to make sure that we are encouraged to come through and get a hold of you guys. And naturally, just again, how can people follow up with you on this call? I mean, it's been already the feedback is coming through to say thank you for an amazing session. So just those two kind of quick points, Madam CEO, to sort of say, if we want to take advantage of the fact that we came in here and we listened, how can we follow up with you on connecting further after the session? And again, what is that process?
Amazing. So I would be terrible if I didn't came and shared all of this and didn't take a dose of my own medicine. So I'm going to say that the best way to do is we still are offering the free consult. So there might be things that you've heard here and you're like, oh, but I need to follow up on this and I'd like a little bit more information on this. So I don't know how I can put this in the chat maybe really quickly. So if you click that link that's in the chat,
we will share the details as well. So I'll pick it up from you and we can share that after the session as well to all the participants.
Amazing. So just click the chat. If you want to chat with me or any of my team, we'd be happy to do 15-30 minutes. And I'm happy to offer a free strategy for up to 2 businesses that are interested. And we'll help you do a strategy that usually goes for anywhere between 50 to 60,000 Rand end to end. So if anyone wants to claim that, please don't be shy. Just let me know and we can organize that, because I think women businesses should prosper. And thank you so much for the time. I really enjoyed being here, and I'm gonna join the next conversation because there've been some amazing chats that have gone on.